You feel it in your bones. The ache of being seen too late, the silence of being needed when the door has already closed. You carried weight no one else saw. You became shelter. And they only noticed when they stood outside, shivering, with nowhere left to run. It burns. Because you gave without asking, you gave without bargaining, you gave without demanding to be recognized. And yet, all along you were the ground beneath their trembling steps. They walked on you as if it was endless. They leaned on you as if you had no limits. They consumed the warmth you gave, and only when the fire dimmed did they see what was keeping them alive. The cruel truth is this: people rarely notice the sanctuary until the storm devours them. They think the refuge is optional. They think the listener is replaceable. They think the presence is casual. And you stood there silent, bleeding patience while their blindness grew louder every day. If this touched you right now, drop a like and write your city. I want to know how far our messages are reaching. Let's keep going. You wanted to be chosen in the light, not discovered in the ruins. You wanted to be the first thought, not the last resort. You wanted your worth to be felt while your pulse was strong, not when your silence was the only thing left in the room. But here's what stings deeper. They knew. Somewhere in the edges of their own fear, they knew. They knew you were the safe place. They knew you were the only one who wouldn't weaponize their cracks. They knew your presence was the fragile net holding them above collapse. But they looked away. They delayed. They postponed reverence until it was too late to give it. And you, your chest carries the ruins. You replay the moments. You whisper the questions into empty air. Did they ever see you? Did they ever feel the depth you held for them? Or were you just the wall they leaned against, without realizing walls crumble too? Insomnia that never ends. The knot in your throat during conversations. Avoiding eye contact when the subject touches the raw edge of your wound. These are the scars of being unseen until the moment of collapse. And now you stand between rage and resignation. Between wanting to scream your worth into their silence and wanting to let the absent speak for you. Between demanding acknowledgement and cutting all threads so their discovery comes with loss. If this decision had to be now, what would yours be? Speak already or wait for confirmation? Answer, say it or wait. Let's keep going. The prophetic whisper rises in you. No safe place remains safe when it is only recognized in regret. A sanctuary unacknowledged becomes a tomb. A giver never named becomes invisible, and invisibility is the slowest kind of death. You don't want pity. You don't want belated gratitude. You don't want the half-broken apologies that arrive when the house is already burned to ash. You wanted presence. You wanted recognition while there was still something alive to protect. But listen, your soul is not a landfill for delayed revelations. Your body is not a waiting room for people to realize your worth when it is convenient for them. Your love is not a second-hand garment to be worn only after the favored ones are gone. You must decide if you will still carry the weight of their blindness, or if you will place it down and step forward without waiting for their awakening. Breathe. You don't need to answer now. Just acknowledge it. The wound is sacred because it shows the depth of your capacity. You are a safe place because you know storms intimately. You know what it is to tremble. You know what it is to hide in shadows, praying for one steady voice. That is why you became a shelter. But your shelter is holy. It cannot be trampled. There are people who will see it in time, who will not wait until your silence screams louder than your presence, who will not need regret to taste your worth, and yet your heart aches for the ones who failed you, because you wanted it to be them. You wanted your sanctuary to matter to the very ones who broke it. You feel the paradox. You resent them for coming too late, yet part of you still longs for them to see. You don't want their apologies, but you crave their recognition. You don't want their words, but you ache for their understanding. The symbol repeats, doorways. You were the open door. You were the threshold that let them pass from chaos into quiet. But a door cannot stay open forever. When the hinges rust, when the frame breaks, when the lock closes, those who once entered freely will realize too late that the entrance is gone. And you are no longer the same. You are not standing there with the same hands, the same patience, the same endless reserves. You are different now. You are scarred. You are tired. You are not their safe place anymore because they taught you how unsafe it is to remain unchosen. You wonder if they regret, if they wake at night remembering the ease of your presence, if they feel the absence like a hollow in their chest. You wonder if their silence is shame or indifference, but you will never fully know. And that uncertainty burns more than the truth ever could. insomnia that never ends, the knot in your throat during conversations, avoiding eye contact when the subject touches the raw edge of your wound. These reminders return because your body remembers what your mind tries to bury. Breathe. You don't need to answer now, just acknowledge it. You do not exist to be remembered too late. You do not exist to be clung to when all else has failed. You do not exist to be an afterthought masquerading as a revelation. Your sanctuary deserves reverence in the daylight, not worship in the ruins. The world may not teach them, life may not awaken them, but you can. You can declare with your steps, your choices, your silence, I am not a refuge discovered only in regret. I am not a haven recognized only when the storm has stripped away all other options. I am not the last place to run. You are not too late for yourself. That is the truth you must carve into your own chest. You are not too late to recognize your worth, even if they were. You are not too late to give yourself the shelter they abandoned. You are not too late to open your own doors and step into a space where your value is not questioned. There is fire in your lungs still. There is breath in your chest still. There is pulse in your veins still. You are not finished. You are not abandoned. You are not ruined. Their blindness does not define your visibility. Their regret does not define your recognition. Their absence does not define your presence. If they realize too late, that belongs to them. But you, your awakening must come now. You must not join them in delay. You must not wait for another's apology to validate your worth. You must not linger in the threshold of what could have been. Write it into your bones, I am not too late for myself. Breathe. You don't need to answer now. Just acknowledge it. You are still here carrying the echo of what was left unsaid, the residue of what was never recognized. Your chest remembers the weight. Your body stores the silence. The air you breathe feels thick because every inhale is heavy with what you gave away without return. You live inside the delay of others. You feel the sharpness of being remembered too late. And even now, as you stand in your own space, the ache follows you like a shadow. You wanted to be seen when the fire still burned bright. You wanted to be acknowledged while your hands still held warmth. But instead, you were left in the waiting room of recognition, with time passing and doors closing. The waiting becomes poison. It creeps through your bloodstream. It whispers that you were not enough, though you know you gave more than enough. It convinces you that you are invisible, though you carried entire worlds on your back. Insomnia that never ends. The knot in your throat during conversations. Avoiding eye contact when the subject touches the raw edge of your wound. These are the symptoms of carrying the burden of being discovered too late. The truth is sharper than you want to admit. You trained people to believe you would always be there. You became so steady that your presence was assumed. You became so faithful that your worth was invisible. And invisibility hurts more than rejection, because rejection at least names you. Invisibility erases you. Breathe. You don't need to answer now. Just acknowledge it. You search for signs. You replay every word, every silence, every absence, hunting for proof that they did know. A glance, a hesitation, a question that was almost asked. You look for signals that your sanctuary was felt before regret stole the moment. You need those signals because without them the wound feels unbearable. But hear this, the signals were always there. They always leaned on you first when the storm cracked open. They always looked for your silence to hold what no one else could. They always breathed easier when you were near, though they never admitted why. You were their compass. You were their ground. You were their doorway. And that doorway is sacred. It is not casual. It is not replaceable. It is not an accident. You were a threshold that shifted atmospheres. But when thresholds are ignored, they collapse. You collapse. And collapsing in silence feels like betrayal from within. Now comes the first turning. You believed the pain came only from being recognized too late. But the deeper pattern is this. You built your identity around being a safe place for others and forgot to become one for yourself. You made your body into a refuge for storms and left yourself without shelter. You carried their confessions but silenced your own. You carried their chaos but abandoned your peace. If this lit a signal in you, comment "Wake up. Let's keep going." The pattern is not only their blindness. The pattern is your offering, the way you gave without boundaries. The way you poured without asking to be poured into. The way you let your soul become a sanctuary without locking the doors. You were not just unseen, you were unprotected. And the ache of being discovered too late is the direct fruit of a life where your own voice was delayed too. Insomnia that never ends. The knot in your throat during conversations. Avoiding eye contact when the subject touches the raw edge of your wound. These are not only signs of others ignoring you, they are signs of you ignoring yourself. The truth is heavy but necessary. You cannot remain a doorway for everyone else while refusing to step through your own. You cannot keep waiting for them to see while you refuse to open your eyes to the cost of your own silence. You cannot keep demanding their recognition while avoiding your own. Breathe. You don't need to answer now. Just acknowledge it. The shift has come. You see the pattern now. It was never just about them coming too late. It was about you arriving last in your own life. You made their storms the priority. You made their fears the altar. You made their recognition the prize. And now you are left with the ash of your own delay. But the ashes are not the end. Ashes hold fire still. Ashes hold memory of what burned. Ashes whisper, rebuild. Ashes scream, rise. Ashes remind you that doors can be closed, but new ones can also be carved. So the question now burns in your chest. Will you continue the cycle or will you break it? Will you keep being the safe place that no one names until regret has already poisoned the air? Or will you reclaim the sanctuary for yourself? Now, what weighs more? A. Speaking the truth. Or B. Keeping the silence. Comment A or B and say why. Vamos continua. You stand at the threshold of this revelation. The doorway is still open, but it is your choice whether you remain on the outside of yourself, waiting for late arrivals, or whether you cross into your own sanctuary and name your worth before anyone else does. Breathe. You don't need to answer now. Just acknowledge it. You feel it rising in you. The slow rage of omission, the quiet poison of self-betrayal. The doorway has always been your symbol, yet you left yourself outside, knocking, waiting, pretending you had no right to enter. You thought silence was safer. You thought endurance was nobler. You thought invisibility would protect you from rejection. But all it did was feed the lie that you are only valuable when others declare it. The omissions are heavy. You didn't speak when your body screamed for release. You didn't leave when the ground cracked under you. You didn't demand acknowledgement when your heart bled in secret. You carried the weight in silence, convinced it was strength, when in truth it was fear. You feared losing them more than losing yourself, and so you swallowed, and swallowed, until the knot in your throat became permanent. Insomnia that never ends, the knot in your throat during conversations, avoiding eye contact when the subject touches the raw edge of your wound. The body tells the truth, even when you try to bury it. Breathe. You don't need to answer now. Just acknowledge it. The self-deception was subtle. You called it patience, you called it faithfulness, you called it endurance, but it was fear dressed as virtue. Silence dressed as peace. Absence dressed as loyalty. You thought you were protecting love, when in reality you were burying yourself alive. And now the call rises. You cannot keep living outside the doorway of your own life. You cannot keep waiting for recognition to arrive like a late guest. You cannot keep allowing yourself to be defined by the timing of others. The choice is here. Remain a refuge for everyone else, or step into your own sanctuary. This is the crossroads. You feel the burn in your chest. You feel the trembling in your hands. You know the truth is not gentle, it is fierce. It divides your past from your future, and once you cross, you cannot go back. Breathe. You don't need to answer now, just acknowledge it. The climax comes here. You were never just their safe place. You are your own safe place. The doorway has always been inside you. You were searching for others to see it, when it was always your sight that mattered. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You stand in the fire of revelation. You feel the walls shaking. You feel the air splitting. This is the point of no return. You cannot go back to silence. You cannot go back to waiting. You cannot go back to invisibility. Insomnia that never ends. The knot in your throat during conversations. Avoiding eye contact when the subject touches the raw edge of your wound. They return not as curses but as alarms. Alarms that wake you. Alarms that demand you step through your own doorway. You hear it. This is the hour to claim your sanctuary. This is the hour to declare your worth. This is the hour to break the cycle. You are never late for yourself. You are right on time. You have trusted and regretted. You have opened and been broken. But now you rise in the ruins. The doorway is yours. The sanctuary is yours. Have you ever trusted and regretted it? Without names, what did you learn? Vamos continua. The desolation is over. You step into your own space, and it feels foreign at first. You tremble because you are not used to being your own safe place. You hesitate because you were trained to wait for permission. but you feel the fire in your lungs. You feel the pulse in your chest. That is your doorway. Breathe, you don't need to answer now, just acknowledge it. And so the ending is not an ending. It is the beginning of a new movement. You are not finished. You are not abandoned. You are not too late. You are stepping forward, not waiting. You are building from the ashes. You are rising from the silence. You are walking through the doorway that always belonged to you. If this message made sense to you, subscribe. Do you want continuation? Write, I want part 2. If this pierced you, if one phrase here made you remember everything you tried to forget, then don't keep this only for yourself. Subscribe here because the next message will touch where no one else dares. Comment what hurt the most. Write it with your soul, without filter. And share it with someone who needs to wake up from this lie too. This is not just a message, it is a mirror, and many need to see themselves.